I was 28 years old when the lights finally blinded me more than they ever thrilled me. I remember standing in the middle of the stage of America's Got Talent, a crowd of thousands screaming my name, cameras flashing, confetti falling like burning snow, and yet inside I felt nothing but emptiness. My smile was painted on, my laughter rehearsed, my soul hollow. I had everything I thought I wanted. Fame, recognition, contracts waiting to be signed. But every night I went home with mascara-stained cheeks, whispering to myself, is this all life is? The deeper I chased fame, the darker my nights became. I drowned myself in parties, fake friends, and secret sins I swore nobody would ever know about. My prayers had long turned silent. My Bible gathered dust back in Hawaii, and God felt like a stranger I had unfriended long ago. And then one night, after the cameras turned off and the applause faded, I collapsed in a hotel bathroom. My last memory before hitting the tiles was this thought: the devil does not give anything for free. Before I continue, I just want to pause and thank every single one of you watching this. To my new and returning viewers, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support means everything to me. If you are new here and have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel and the energy that keeps this channel alive. And please, do not just watch, engage. Share your thoughts in the comments because your words matter. Now let us return to where it all began. My name is Elaine, and I was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. I grew up in a home where church was part of our Sundays, but it never really took root in my heart. I sang in the choir as a little girl, but even then, the applause thrilled me more than the hymns did. When I turned 19, my friends encouraged me to audition for local talent shows. The rush of being noticed lit a fire inside me. By 24, I had made it to America's Got Talent, standing under lights brighter than anything I'd ever imagined. I told everyone I was grateful to God, but in reality, God was the last thing on my mind. My lifestyle was glamorous from the outside. Designer clothes, endless social media followers, parties in Beverly Hills. But behind closed doors, it was ugly. Depression crept in when the crowds went silent. I numbed myself with alcohol and casual relationships, always chasing a high that never lasted. I remember one night in early 2021, staring at myself in the mirror of a rented Los Angeles apartment. The girl looking back at me was a stranger. Heavy makeup, hollow eyes, empty heart. I whispered, God, are you even real? Because if you are, why do I feel so lost? But silence answered me. I kept pushing, chasing success, ignoring the gnawing sense that I was trading pieces of myself for a crown that would never satisfy. I told myself I could handle it, that I was in control. But deep inside, I knew something dark was tugging me further and further away from the girl I once was. And on a cold night, just after a major performance, everything changed. My body gave out, my spirit broke, and I found myself slipping into something I had never believed could be real. But what I saw when I opened my eyes was not the applause of men. It was the flames of a place I thought only existed in sermons. When I collapsed that night in the hotel bathroom, I felt my head strike the cold tile, and then everything went silent. At first, I thought I had fainted, but then I realized I was looking down at my own body. I could see myself lying there, motionless, mascara smeared, my lips pale. I wanted to scream, to wake myself up, but I could not make a sound. Suddenly, a darkness thicker than anything I had ever known began to pull me downward. It was not like falling through air. It was like being dragged through tar. My ears rang with shrieks that pierced straight through me. The deeper I went, the stronger the smell became. A suffocating mix of sulfur and burning flesh. I covered my nose, but it did nothing. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in a place that I had only heard preachers warn about. Flames roared in the distance, casting shadows that twisted like living creatures. The ground beneath me was dry, cracked, and glowing faintly, as if fire lived just beneath its skin. All around me were souls, faces twisted in agony, mouths open in endless screams, eyes filled with despair. One woman clawed at her own face, shrieking words I could not understand. Another man thrashed as chains tightened around his arms, dragging him deeper into the fire. And the most haunting thing of all was the sound. Millions of voices crying out at once, wailing for mercy that never came. I began to run, though I did not know where I was going. My feet burned with every step. My throat felt dry, yet my body shook as if it knew I should not be here. Then I heard a laugh, low, cruel, echoing from behind me. I turned and saw figures moving in the shadows. Demons. Their forms shifted like smoke, but their eyes were sharp, piercing, filled with hatred. One of them leaned close to me and hissed, "You wanted fame, did you not? You traded worship of God for worship of yourself. This is the stage you earned." My chest tightened. Every sin I had hidden, every compromise I had made for applause, every prayer I ignored, it all flashed before me in a single crushing moment. Shame wrapped around me like chains. I tried to cry out to God, but the words would not come. My throat was seized by fear. All I could whisper was, "Please, not here." But the demons only laughed louder. They began to chant my name in mockery, twisting the same sound that had once been cheered by thousands of fans. The irony cut deeper than fire. Just when I thought I could not endure another moment, I felt something shift. The screams grew distant for a second. The flames seemed to pause, and then, behind me, I heard a voice. Not like the mocking voices, not like the screams of the damned. This voice was strong, steady, filled with authority. It called my name, Elaine. My knees buckled, the air trembled. I turned slowly, knowing deep in my spirit that what I was about to see was not of this place. And when I lifted my eyes, I saw a light breaking through the darkness. The light that pierced through the darkness was unlike anything I had ever seen. It was not the kind of light that blinds. It was the kind of light that heals. Warmth rushed over me, cutting through the suffocating stench of sulfur. The screams faded into whispers. The flames trembled, as if they too recognized the power of the presence entering that place. And then I heard the voice again, Elaine. It was not harsh, but it carried authority that shook me to my core. It was the voice of a father, a shepherd, a judge, and a savior all at once. I fell to my knees, trembling, my face buried in the burning ground that suddenly felt cool under the weight of his presence. The voice spoke again. Your time has not yet come, but if you do not turn back to me, this is where your path will end. Tears burned my cheeks. I tried to speak, but all I could say was, "Why me? I do not deserve mercy." In that moment, I felt something I had not felt in years. Love. Pure, unfiltered love. It poured into the cracks of my soul that fame, lust, and sin had carved out. It did not excuse my sin, but it covered me in a mercy I could not comprehend. Go back, the voice said. Warn them. Fame without me is emptiness. Success without me is ruin. Go back and tell them, I am real. The light grew brighter, filling every shadow, swallowing up every mocking voice. I closed my eyes, and suddenly I felt like I was being pulled upward, away from the flames, away from the chains, back into my body. I gasped for air. My chest heaved as if I had been underwater for hours. I was lying on the cold bathroom tiles, my body drenched in sweat. For a moment, I thought it was all a dream, but the terror still shook in my bones, and the echo of his voice still thundered in my spirit. That night marked the death of who I was, and the birth of someone I had never known I could become. Life after that encounter was not easy, but it was real. I walked away from contracts, from parties, from the people who only wanted me for my image. My managers called me foolish. Friends mocked me for throwing away opportunities. But for the first time in my life, I did not care. I had seen eternity. I had tasted hell, and I had been touched by mercy. I returned home to Hawaii and began rebuilding my life. I sought God in prayer, trembling at first, because I thought He would not want me back. But every time I opened the Bible, His words leapt out like personal letters. I started serving at a local church, sharing my testimony quietly at first, until one day I realized silence would dishonor the gift I had been given. Now, every song I sing is no longer about applause. It is about worship. Every stage I stand on is no longer about my name. It is about His. I no longer measure success by contracts or followers, but by obedience and peace. To you who are listening right now, I want to tell you something with all my heart. Hell is real. I wish it was not, but I saw it with my own eyes. And I promise you, no fame, no money, no addiction, no sin is worth even 1 second in that place. If you are living far from God, this is your warning. If you are a Christian drifting into compromise, this is your wake-up call. And if you think you're too broken for God to want you back, remember this: His mercy reached me in the flames, and it can reach you too. Hell is not a story to scare you. It is a reality to prepare you. Fame without Christ is nothing more than a crown of fire. So I ask you today, what stage are you living for? The applause of people or the approval of God? I want you to pause and reflect. Do you believe God still warns people through testimonies like this? Have you ever felt Him calling you out of a dark place? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your voice matters. And please, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It may seem like a small action, but it helps this message reach more people who need it desperately. Together, we can spread the truth that changes lives. My name is Elaine, and this is my testimony. I was touched by hell, but saved by His mercy. And I will never be the same again.